Hey pals, remember when I was making that room diorama thing and I put up a progress shot? Now I know you guys have seen the finished thing in person, but I figured I would put a video of it up on here anyway, just so that, if you wanted to look at it again, you could look at it, and also maybe it will give you some ideas for things you might want to make for your own dolls. Okay, so this is what the whole thing looks like on the inside when it is together. And then on the outside, I put some, this is like cardstock paper. Maybe not cardstock. You use it for scrapbooking, basically. And it's got like designed on it. And it's a little bit thicker than regular paper. And then this down here is strips of foam. I painted them. And these are little squares of paper that I glued on there to look like tiles. All right, and then back in the front here, we have this little guy that came with the kit, just a little stool. This is a little lamp that I made because I had this weird metal dome piece right here and I really wanted to use it, and so then I wrapped, I think this textured piece here used to be part of an earring, and then that is, it's either a bead cap or an earring back. I think it's a bead cap. And then I stuck it on a little piece of dowel with another one of those little half domes down here. And then that is the back of one of those, you know how you can like make your own covered buttons? Well, that's the back of one of those that's missing the shank. So he sits a little tilted because turns out lampshades are not my specialty. And then this is the second rug that I made for this. I glued it down on a piece of paper. This is like embroidery floss that I braided together, and then I glued it down in like a spiral. Initially I had that big green thing that I had painted on, but it was a little too big, and also it made the room look darker, and so I made another one that was a little more cheerful. Here's the chair that came with the kit that I covered with my own fabric and put a little bit of embroidery floss on as trim. I think it's a very cute chair design. And then this is just a rectangle of fabric that I believe came out of a curtain. But it's like a pretty loose weave, and I thought it looked cool, and it's also very flexible and holds its shape pretty well for being on such a small scale. And then this is a little piece of ribbon that I sewed the ends, I cut like a length of it, sewed the ends together, and I ran a thread around the end and pulled it so that it scrunched down, and then I stuffed it with a little bit of batting. So there's a little pillow for their chair. This thing, some of the stuff is the same from what you saw before, but I did make some new stuff. But I'm going to show you some of the stuff more close up because it's fun. So this is the little kids diorama. Wow, the lighting sucks. That a little better, maybe? Nope, still sucks. All right, we're just going to go with this. So it's got a little dog, and in the back, it's got a little house. Then there's a flower, and then some clouds up there, and the sun on the top. And then a little path. I thought it was cute. We got mini shells. I one time bought a big bag of mini shells. Ooh, that's out of focus. A big bag of mini shells just for crafting purposes. Not remembering the fact that I don't usually use seashells in crafting because it's just generally not the vibe I go for. But I have them, and so now I sometimes use them. So this is one of those, you know how Auntie Rachel has all of those little tiny people? I think they're for making like mini train dioramas, which also sounds really fun. But yeah, so I painted this lady to make her look a little more fancy because the paint on her was a little faded. The face came out a little creepy, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not gonna worry about the face. It's on such a tiny scale that if it only came out that creepy, I'm pretty proud of that. This is the bag of marbles. It's just a little piece of tulle with some teeny tiny pearlescent type beads in it. This thing is a little airplane charm. There used to be a hook right in the back here that I ripped out. and then I painted it, and now it has a face. But I thought it would be fun for the kid to have a little airplane that they can play with. And then these, again, are from Auntie Rachel's Tiny Things dispenser, and they're just little dinosaurs, because dinosaurs are very fun and more people should play with dinosaurs. And so, yeah, they've got one of each kind and one of each color. And then this is, so at the last place I worked, you would get like metal fittings for like pipes and stuff like that, and this would come on the end to protect the threads and also to keep gunk from getting inside them when they were shipping and stuff, and in storage. So we didn't really use them, so they kind of just got thrown away, and so I brought some home with me, and I can use them on crafting. The little dappled gray pony, there's its little face. It's got like a weird line on the thing because I didn't feel like trying to sand it, because I thought that might destroy some of the details. But look at how cute it is. Literally a Lego sword, like one of their little cutlass ones that you get with the pirate sets, and I painted it so that they could have a toy sword to play with, because I grew up playing with toy swords. This is my house that I made from a Monopoly house. It took me so long to figure out what I wanted to do with the roof, and I just ended up just painting it gray and then blobbing some black on it. But like, first I was like, oh, I should do shingles. Oh, I should make it a color. Oh, I blah, 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 blah. And yeah, I didn't like the way any of them looked. So there are actually several coats of paint on the top of that. And then this, again, are all my little paint stirrers that I painted them all a little bit differently from each other, because that's fun. And also, they remind me of elementary school. This is the drawing on the side. That little piece of tape down there will not stick down. All right, so this side has a bunch of stuff that you definitely haven't seen yet. All right, so this is a little, you know, you can get those little rubber critters from like the zoo and craft stores and things like that. This one was a little dragon one because dragons are cool. And then I made them some games, pretty much just made up games. And because the pieces are so tiny, it's not an actual playable game. But I had a lot of fun, and look, woo, out of focus. Okay. I chopped this out of a advertisement for Highlights magazines, in case you were wondering where I got that particular picture from. But yeah, there's little tiny pieces in there, and they do come out. And then this is the game board, which does not sit down very well, apparently. Let's see if I can make it work over here. Anything? Well, you can kind of see it. So this just came out of another magazine. I don't know what that bird is from. I don't know that it's even from something specifically. All right, and then in here, again, I have a game board. And this one is legit completely made up. I didn't even make up rules or anything. I just drew something on a page and was like, that's good enough. And there is a little tiny dice. That's the hardest thing to keep track of for this whole thing. It's literally just a tiny piece of a square dowel that I plagued myself with for literally no reason. And these are, you know how sequins have that little hole in the middle? Well, if you buy a bag of sequins, are you going to show up? If you buy a bag of sequins, at the bottom of your bag of sequins is going to be all the little holes that got punched out of the middle of that. So I put them inside a little piece of plastic and melted the edges together. I have a little tablet of paper for them to write things on, you know, in the game, like scorekeeping or doing math or whatever, because this is clearly a math game. Back in there. And then those two beads are some kind of game piece. And then that in there, when pretending is the instructions, it's just small writing that I cut out of a, I think it was like a catalog for beads. And this one I was very excited about. This is a box of blocks that remind me of the blocks I used to play with when I was a kid. We call them nostalgia blocks. They're coated in Mod Podge on the outside, and so they stick in the box a little bit. And these I just punched out of paper with paper punches and then glued them on there and then kind of like painted over the top of them. I cut out all those shapes of the blocks that we used to have when I was a kid. We had like the big long red blocks, and like I didn't match all the colors to exactly what they were because we definitely didn't have purple blocks. And then they can play with nostalgia blocks. And then also I would have nostalgia blocks And these I cut out of a sheet of craft foam. And then I just painted them colors. And then this is a bunch of the fake books that came with the kit. But I'm not going to take those out because they were a giant pain to get in there. So, yeah. There's this guy, which again came with the kit. I actually really like the shape of this shelf. Let's see what all we have in here. Ah, my face itches. All right, so we're going to go with this red thing next. So this is a box of Kleenex. I cut up a piece of a postcard and folded it into a box, and then I stuck a piece of actual Kleenex on the inside because I tried a couple other things, but they didn't look good. The Kleenex looked correct because it's Kleenex material. And then this is part of a wire nut, and there was like a little extra bit that I chopped off because I wanted it shorter and I just wanted these lined parts on there. And then that is a piece of plastic plant. And then, let's see, you already have seen this instrument one time, but here's the back. It's got little beads on the back to prop it up, right? And then it sits like this, and somewhere, although I currently lost it, I did make a little thing for striking on it, like striking these things. And then this is a book of sheet music that came with the kit. See, sheet music. And then I'm not going to pull these out because they were also a pain to get in there, but that's just 2 other squares of fabric on the bottom that I folded up like blankets. All right, and then these ones I had fun with. There are 2 more of the boxes that came with the kit. I had some boxes from, well, they used to call them candy cigarettes, now they call them candy sticks. I had some of the boxes from them and they had the word candy on them, and so I cut them out and glued it on there because, I don't know, I felt like it should be labeled something. And so then I made tiny candies to go inside the candy boxes. All right, so this is my Fruity Candies box. And these are just seed beads that I stuck in little plastic things and, again, heat sealed the edges. And then this guy is one of those little tube beads with a piece of tape. Is that yellow tape? It might be tape. It might be some kind of like tissue paper or something. And then a little thing wrapped around it that's colorful to make it look like a proper candy wrapper. And then these are, you know, those suckers that Auntie Rachel gets out of her dispenser? Yeah, I just painted them to look like they had wrappers on. This one is my chocolate candies box. So I just cut these out of foam in a couple different shapes and then wrapped them in. So a while ago, when I was eating Ferrero Rochers, I was like, these wrappers are gold on one side and silver on the other, and also, like, I like them. And so I kept some of the foil wrappers. And so in my crafting hoard, I just have a bunch of Ferrero Rocher wrappers, and so I was using them. These are wrapped around beads for wrapping on these, and then I cut little colorful swatches out from, like, magazine paper to be on the outside. And then, yeah, so these are my 4 shapes of chocolate flavored candies. Right, and this came with the box. It was red, just a slightly different color of red. And then I painted on it. It was this color of red, which is slightly lighter on the back and slightly less purpley. And then, yeah, so I showed you those little dragon scale looking things the last time. So this guy, again, also came with the kit, but with a few small modifications. This little thing here came with the kit. I just painted it a different color and put more of the Ferrero Rocher foil around the thing, and a little, it's kind of like a sequin, but it's not really a sequin. And then these little paper things came with the kit, so I just stuck them in there because, you know, why not have it be a paper holder? And then in this thing, I already showed you the paint set and paper and the brushes, and the glue and this thing and the spiral notebook and the pencil and the scissors. But now I also have more of those little sequin centers to be sequins. And I made a tiny box and I put some of those tube-shaped beads in there. So it's like a crayon box. it's came out super cute and I'm very excited about it. So this little paper box came with the kit. And they did send fabric to put in it, but I didn't like it, the color of it, so I put some of my own fabric in it. And then these are little Halloween themed books. All of them are Halloween themed. So I get catalogs for puzzles because I want the pictures that come out of them because they're on a very small scale. One of the puzzles that I was showing you had a whole bunch of pictures of the fronts of like Halloween books. And then I glued them onto a piece of like a game board. So like the back of the game board is black like that. So that was the back, and then I just painted along the one side of it, and the other side has this. And so then now it looks like a book. Okay. So this one, I showed you these. These are the little pieces of sea glass that I put on pedestals I made out of bits of popsicle stick. And then this is a bead with like a bead cap on it to be like a little jar. And I put a book that has maps back there. I have a picture of a sea captain. And then these are the rest of the like individual books that came with the kit. And then I've got one more little picture on the side that's a map. And again, all of these pictures I cut out of different magazines because, you know, I have a mild obsession with doing that. I'm not really sure what the purpose of that top part is, but it came with the kit, so I kind of left it in there, but I might end up taking it out. And then over here, I'll show you a better shot of the pictures that I have. A lot of them have boats in them. Can you see that? You can't see that. Focus on it. Okay. This guy, you can't tell very well, but there is a boat in a lake on that one. And the next one underneath is flowers. The one underneath that is like a nighttime water scene. And they've got some birds and a little person in the snow. Another bird, houses, the reflection of some trees in a lake. And that one is, what is that one again? I don't know. There's water in it. It's probably mountains and water. And then, again, some greenery and then a person walking toward a house in the snow. And then the kid's drawing of a dog. And then these ones over here, again, there is a reflection in water on this one. I don't remember. I think it might be another boat. There's another bird. This one definitely is a boat that has a reflection in the water. And then that is a teeny tiny circus or carnival or something. And that's another one of the maps. And then, I mean, of course, this very large one of people dramatically swooning into each other's arms. All right, and I've shown you my dioramas already. So I'm not going to walk through them again. You can always just look at the other video. And this little tiny bin, I dug through my rock collection and picked out some fun little rocks. And then I put them in here so that the person can have a little rock collection that they sometimes let their kid play with. And then this is another pillow that I made out of a different ribbon. And again, stuffed. I don't know if I used a cotton ball or if I used batting on that one, but it's stuffed. And this is another one of those little containers that has papers that came with the kit. This is a map that came with the kit, and I think we're supposed to cut this up into a few different pieces, but I didn't want to, so I just left it all as one big long piece because I thought it looked nice. And then on the back I glued another piece of paper to make it a little sturdier, and then yeah, propped it up on the shelf. And then I have a seashell that came out of my hoard. It used to be a bead. Well, it still is a bead, but I'm not using it as one, so it's got a little hole there. Here is my other paint stirrer. And then up here, there's a little metal flower. There's a picture of a horse rearing. And then my beer stein. And then all of the rest of my dioramas. And yeah, so I painted the back of this thing in some pink and orange stripes. I don't remember why I chose that particular color scheme, but I did, and I stuck with it. And then this, again, was a piece of that paper that you may do with, like, scrapbooking. Why can I not remember what that's called? I don't know, but it's thicker than regular paper. But yeah, that is my diorama. Oh, and before I forget, this is the doggy. that goes with this doggy picture over here. Yeah. But yeah, that is my diorama that I had a lot of fun making. And now you can see it pretty much disassembled. And, oh, I can show you the back of this. So this particular bookshelf, this edge piece here, when I got it, was so warped that I couldn't put it into the piece. I had to force it into there, clamp it on, and then like wood glue the crap out of it. And so that's why you can see like glue up by the seams and stuff that isn't looking real great. Oh, I need to show you these. Okay, so these are more games. I have Team Trivia and then checkers. This one has a checkerboard and some checker pieces. I chose this picture of this guy on the front because he looks nerdy. So this one was supposed to be like a little bit like Trivial Pursuit, and except then you in the middle you have like a popper, like you know in the game Sorry, where it's got like that half dome and you push down on it and it goes pop, and then the dice rolls. Yeah, that's what that's supposed to be. And then this is another piece of the postcard I used to make the Kleenex box. And then in here I have a bunch of question cards. There's more of those little sequin things, and then for these, the question marks on the cards, I carved the end of a sucker stick to look into like the shape of a question mark, and then I used it like a stamp. But instead of stamping like with the black in the shape of the question mark on the end of the sucker stick, I ended up getting the outline of it, but I thought that worked just fine. It still looks like a question mark. So yeah, I just stamped a whole bunch of times with black paint, and then I cut them out. And so now they have little question cards. And now I can show you the tape. So this is what the back of this looks like. As you can see, the tape is releasing a little bit down here. But yeah, I just put the lights where I wanted them and just wrapped black masking tape around it to hide it and keep it contained. And then it just runs up over here to my battery case. That is what the back of that looks like. And this is also stuck in with poster tack. But yeah, that is my kit, and I'm very excited about it.